Well, guys, the summer movie season this year is going to be absolutely insane. It's already been crazy with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Fast X, and now we continue with The Little Mermaid, the live-action remake from the Disney classic. We got Disney's The Little Mermaid, just came out this weekend on May 26th, only in theaters, and so I went to see it, and it was great. Like, I loved this movie. I just had such a fun time with it, and I highly recommend it. Now, obviously, because of that, though, because I was just so happy watching this movie, it makes me sad the, I guess, controversy surrounding it and just the inevitable hate that is going to be involved with this film, and that has been involved with this film since production started and everything, because guess what? Ariel is black, and that's for some reason a big deal, which I fully, totally understand both sides of the argument. I mean, those of you that grew up watching the Little Mermaid animated movie, you grew up seeing Ariel as white, so her being black now, that like ruins it for you. It's understandable, but at the same time, like, you have to think about it how there's always changes in these movies. It's not always going to be a complete one-to-one remake and translation. I talk about this all the time when it comes to superhero movies. Like, they don't always adapt the comics directly. They make changes, and this is just a change that they made for this movie. And it's a change that really doesn't change anything. And to be completely honest, it actually makes way more sense because The Little Mermaid takes place in the Caribbean, and so technically Ariel should be black, and I think that's great seeing that represented, not only with Ariel but with like everybody, people in the castle and everybody in this village within this movie. I think that was great to see, and it just makes complete and total sense. And again, it's not like super woke, it doesn't like ruin the movie or anything. It works, and it's not something that's made a big deal about either. And to be completely honest, one of the reasons this works so well is because Halle Bailey is just amazing in this role. She is, in my opinion, absolutely perfect to play Ariel. She just captured the energy, the innocence, the kindness of this character so well. And also on top of that, her voice is gorgeous. Like, it's always my belief that when you're casting a character, and this is always brought up, when there's gender bending or race bending for characters that are adapted from previous adaptations or from the comics or anything like that, and people will be like, oh, the character has to be this certain way or that certain way. And in my opinion, it's just whatever actor can play the role the best. And I think especially for Halle Bailey, getting an actual singer to play this role was the right idea, especially somebody that not only has the voice but can also, on top of that, capture the acting chops and the charisma of this character of Ariel. That's a win right there, and that's what you have in this movie with Halle Bailey as Ariel. She was just amazing. Like, I just loved seeing this character on screen, even in the moments when, obviously she didn't have a voice, but even in those silent moments, just her expressions and her movement, her intentional actions were just so powerful. And I just love that about this movie and this adaptation of Ariel. And sure, there is some other changes to like make her more, female empowerment and everything, make her more heroic in this movie. But I think that's great actually, because it never really made sense for her to just like first lay eyes on Eric and just instantly fall in love with him because, ooh, he's hot and he's a prince and all that stuff. I love how it's because she overhears his ideas and his plans and his intentions for the future, and that's what she falls in love with. And the things they bond over, maps and exploration. I love how this Ariel is, just obsessed with exploring and learning new things. She's just curious about everything. And I really enjoyed seeing that side of Ariel. We did also have a new song for Ariel. I thought that was pretty good. I didn't expect it, but it was pretty good. Eric also had a new song as well, which I actually really loved. That was really great. And Eric, John Howard King was great in this role as well. I didn't know him prior to this movie, but I thought he did a great job. He, again, also perfectly captured this character and just the kindness and the goodness of Prince Eric, because I've never really thought of Prince Eric, or to be completely honest, like any prince in any Disney movie ever being is like, oh, he's like this great upstanding guy. Like, most of the time, the prince is kind of just there to be like the one that the princess falls in love with. But here, he really stands on his own as a prince, as Eric, as just a good, upstanding guy. And seeing how these two fall in love together, it was just great to see. I really enjoyed that. And there's some changes throughout here. You know, Having Halle Bailey play Ariel, that's obviously the big change that everybody is like freaking out about and somehow having a problem with. But they're just like any other Disney live action remake. There's a lot of other changes here as well. Me personally, obviously I've seen The Little Mermaid. I've seen it a couple times throughout my life, but I haven't seen it in a long time. And I was going to rewatch before this film, but then ultimately I decided I wanted to just go into this blind and not have to have these preconceived notions. And as I'm watching it, think like, oh, that's new. Oh, that was a change. Oh, that's different. I wanted to just go into this with an open mind, just watching what this movie was without having to think about what the original was and comparing the two. Because obviously, you can compare the two, and you will, and there are a lot of changes, but the changes weren't anything I really noticed a whole lot, especially as somebody who hasn't seen the original in a while. But now, after watching the movie and like going through and picking out like what all the big differences were between the original and this new adaptation, I love all the changes that were made. They were really innovative and really smart. Some of these were like really brilliant changes that just make more sense for these characters and for this story. So I already talked about Ariel. I already talked about Eric. Let's talk about Ursula. Ursula, Melissa McCarthy, another great casting. The whole cast of this film is just amazing. Melissa McCarthy has talked about how in interviews, like, she had to like really work hard to get a meeting with the director of this movie to even get a shot at auditioning for this role. But I'm so glad she did, because she was so good at this. I don't know if I've really seen her sing before, but she did an amazing job with Poor Unfortunate Souls here. I think the effects on Ursula specifically, I mean, the CGI and special effects in this movie overall were really good. And with Ursula specifically, though, for example, Poor Unfortunate Souls, just seeing the light. I love how it's a very dark setting, because Ursula, she's the villain, she's hiding deep within the darkness of the sea, but like you have her tentacles lighting up and like all her magic potions and everything. I just love the brightness, the contrast between the brightness and the darkness between these moments was just really powerful. And all those musical numbers that we had there, which we'll talk about more in a bit, Ursula was great. And the ending of the movie, it happens with Ursula. I don't want to spoil anything, but how it happens in the end of the movie with Ursula, something she does and gets bigger, that looked great as well. I wasn't expecting it to, but giant kaiju Ursula looked awesome. I thought that was really cool to see. Other than our three main, like, I guess human characters, not actually human, but people characters where you can see the actors' faces, we also have, of course, our CGI animals as well, which a lot of people, again, had their main problem going into this when it came to changes was that Ariel was black. For me, my biggest concern was these animals, because you got Sebastian, you got Flounder, you got Scuttle. They all look like real animals, which, I mean, you would think that's the point. It's a live action adaptation. They're supposed to look realistic, but specifically for like Flounder and Sebastian, I was really upset when those designs were first revealed, because it just looked terrible. Like, I mean, they look good CGI wise. They look like a real crab and a real fish, but they didn't seem like those energetic, cartoonish characters that I fell in love with in the original version. And that was obviously one of the biggest problems people had with the live action Lion King movie, is because, the animals looked great in that film, but almost too great, almost too real, because no cartoon eyes, no cartoon mouths. You didn't get to see those characters emote very much. And while that is still a thing here in this movie, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would, because the performances from Daveed Diggs as Sebastian and Jacob Tremblay as Flounder and Awkwafina as Scuttle, because of their voice acting performances, you almost don't need it. Like, it doesn't even feel like it's missing. You still capture that energy even without the giant cartoony eyes and everything that I was concerned about. So that was something I really appreciated and was a little bit of a surprise for me. The songs, though, I mean, of course, the songs are one of the best parts of all these classic Disney movies. So recreating those is always a big, tough task to live up to. For me, the holy trinity of Little Mermaid songs, Part of Your World, Under the Sea, and Kiss the Girl, all three of them, I love these new versions of the songs. Are they as good as the originals? Maybe not, but these are pretty close. I mean, they're all amazing. Like I said, I really enjoyed the new songs that were added in as well. Even I didn't mention it before this, but Scuttlebutt by Aquafina and V Diggs. That was kind of the very Lin-Manuel Miranda song out of the whole soundtrack, with a little bit of rap going on there. That was really great. That was a really entertaining song to see take place in the film. But really, guys, just The Little Mermaid, it was just such a fun film. It's it, like all the good live action remakes, it takes what you had from the original story and expands upon it. It takes this original story, these characters, and gives you more to work with. And yes, there's changes. Of course there's changes, but I loved all the changes that were made. I think all these changes were for the better. And one of the biggest changes is the ending. The ending is very different, but I think the ending was great and really gets me excited about maybe possibly even a sequel. Like, it ends it off at a point that is so perfect as an ending for these characters of Eric and Ariel, to where this could just be a one and done movie. But at the same time, there is the option for a sequel, and I would absolutely love to see a sequel at some point down the line. Again, this whole cast was great. I would love to see all of them come back. But even if not, this right here, the 2023 The Little Mermaid live action remake, was amazing. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will as well. I highly recommend going out to theaters and checking out this film. That's another thing. This is a very cinematic film. Like, obviously the original is as well, but I've seen a couple movies in theaters lately, like Air and 80 for Brady and Champions. Well, like, those were great movies and everything, but they're not something you need to go to a theater to see. They're not super cinematic movies. This is something you need to see on a big screen. I imagine it would be pretty good in 3D as well. I didn't see it in 3D, but I imagine that'd be pretty cool to see it in 3D. But this is just such a cinematic tale. Again, the CGI and everything is great. The music, hearing these songs, these musical sequences on the big screen was great. It was just beautiful. It was a great movie. I had so much fun. It made me so happy, and I hope it will make you guys happy as well. So if you guys have seen the Little Mermaid remake, let me know in the comments below. What did you think about it? Of course, non-spoiler thoughts. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so keep you up to date on everything goes on in the movie life.